Hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon to some of you, and good evening for those who are watching now and later. Today, we're going to talk about respiration, the process of breathing, the act of taking in and letting out, and how that might manifest itself in different ways. Definitely physiologically, that'll be a primary focus. So I'm going to first read the description for this class right now. Because people often will watch this video later, I want us here to know what to expect, and those who are going to be watching it also what's about to go down. So I'm going to read it. I might digress a little bit from it, but we're going to read that first. So in this class, we will look at inhalation and exhalation, contraction and expansion, inspiration and expiration. As the calendar year comes to a close, we will examine what it means to contract within, exhale the emotional and energetic toxins, and expire or retire that which is ready to be released, recycled, or die. The very nature of respiration has in part to do with the process, integration, and exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The respiratory system is intrinsically bound to the nervous system, as the latter is the very system that enables breath. That's the autonomic nervous system, right? This has two branches. I'm digressing a little bit here already. It has two branches. It has a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system, or sympathetic and parasympathetic states. So our breathing, the rate and possible, shallowness or expansiveness of our breath, that constriction, that's controlled by sympathetic states, sympathetic nervous system. And that slowing down, that kind of bringing it down, an ability to have greater expansion, right? The relinquishing of that held and charged state of existence that we can so easily live in. That slowing down of breath takes place in a parasympathetic state, parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. Uh, but there is so much more to it than that. The respiration itself, especially as we look to forms of nature that mimic or reflect this organ, we will notice the similarities between the lungs and nature. The trunk of a tree, like that of the trachea, for instance, right? Or the windpipe. The branches, like bronchi, bronchioles, the smaller branches still, like alveoli. Um, this looking at the structure will also guide us into greater understanding of the reflexology mapping and the very mapping of the anatomy itself, right, as it reflects to nature. So we gaze within, and in so doing, we see the universe, a macrocosm reflecting the same patterning, inhabiting the same wholeness, a reminder of our oneness. My reflexology sessions and teachings embody a triadic approach. Those of you who have been in my classes, especially live ones, the triadic approach is what we learn. We learn a no mind approach, which is releasing what we think we know, our ideas of who we are, the diagnosis, who we think the client is, the friend is, the stranger is. We let it all go. We have a compassionate intake process. That actually is a compassionate intake for ourselves and others. We begin with others. We learn how to take a compassionate intake of somebody else. But actually, what we ultimately learn to do is take a compassionate intake, an inventory of ourselves. And then finally, we do a bottom-up approach. For me, namely, those have been reflexology, Reiki, and movement work, somatic work. And that has probably been the thing, that has definitely been the thing I've done the longest, my movement practice. That started when I was quite young. So this practice, this process asks the practitioner or person taking care of oneself or another person to free their mind, to open their heart, and to keep their bodies in motion. So these principles will be present in the teaching today. I ended that description of the class with come ready to go within and to move. So we're going to start right there. We're going to start with movement. We're going to start with breath. You can stand if you want. I'm going to stay sitting. This is easy enough. These two exercises we'll begin with, we can do while sitting. So the very first one is going to be simply moving your arms, your neck, and your head. Okay. And what you'll do is you'll have them by your sides. I'll do it for you once. It's going to be a simple act of breathing and moving. The movement comes from my hands and arms going out to the side as I inhale and go all the way up to the ceiling as I look to my hands. My hands are like this. The palms have greeted and they're up in the sky. My neck is back and I'm looking to my hands. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Then I exhale and I push down as if I'm almost pushing the air around my physical form. So I like to go turn it out, and then my palms will actually push the air around me and back down towards the earth, right? So we're going to inhale up with our chin going towards the ceiling, looking up to our hands, inhaling, inhaling, inhaling. Once we've reached that, we will then bring it back down. So you can do this, inhale through your nose, exhale through your nose. You could inhale through your nose and exhale from your mouth. I will probably do that one. You could inhale through the mouth and out through the mouth. Just know that that can make someone lightheaded. Too much mouth breathing can make you lightheaded. So I would recommend the nose or the nose mouth. I also want to do a quick preface. I want to preface this by saying you, you know this. You have agency. This is your body. Tap into yourself and acknowledge, is this something I even want to do right now? Like, or, my shoulder's been bothering me. I don't think I should do this. That's the voice. That trumps everything. That is the voice you listen to above all else, above me, above all the things, right? So the tools we will utilize today are not replacements for any medical care that you need. So if you're watching this later as a video, and maybe you came to this video because you have a lung condition or a lung infection, I don't dispense medical advice. I am not a doctor. I also don't prescribe even the use of these exercises as techniques to treat any medical condition. So if you have concerns about your health, seek a doctor, your healthcare provider. What I like to do is seek out my doctor, my naturopath, and also what I do is I like to tap into my inner knowing. That's the agency, right? I tap into my inner knowing. This is something that I've cultivated. It's something I teach. It's something I do. I tap into myself. I get really, 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 really quiet and I just listen. I listen to myself. I go to the doctor, the naturopath, and certain practitioners and certain maybe complementary modalities that tend to my imbalances. Because I've had tremendous success, right, with reflexology and Reiki and movement to help facilitate or bring my body back into balance, I do go to those practices. So just a heads up. I believe it's great that we come together. I believe it is of tremendous benefit when we collectively gather. And in so doing, there's that still point, that opportunity for the individual to awaken to their singular path together. Uh, yeah, and I also believe that things come up when they're ready to be healed. Okay, I digress. Digression, sweet digression. So we're going to breathe. We're going to breathe. As we do this, I want you to know one thing. I want you to visualize one thing. It's a physiological event. This is what is happening at the level of your body when you are breathing. As you breathe, it takes less than a minute, approximately 45 seconds, for our blood to circulate from our heart, travel throughout the body, and then get back to the heart. 45 seconds. So we're going to be breathing and visualizing and acknowledging this biological phenomenon, right? So we're going to breathe in, envisioning, right? The protein in the blood, the hemoglobin, right? It located inside those red blood cells, carrying with it as we breathe in the oxygen, for instance, throughout the body. right? The veins carrying back that blood without the oxygen. It's deoxygenated blood, CO2, to the right side of the heart to breathe out the carbon dioxide, the waste product that our bodies produce. So we breathe in, it circulates throughout the body. We breathe out. It's going to take us about three, usually it's 2 to 3 really good inhales and exhales. That's going to be about 45 minutes. So we're going to do it 3 times. I'm gonna I'm gonna time us because I'm curious how long it will take today. So fingertips down to the earth. You could close your eyes or lower your gaze. And when you're ready, you're going to take a nice inhale in with your arms out to the side, inhaling. Arms to the sky, palms together. And exhale, palms out to the side, pushing the air down beside the body. And inhaling again up. Inhaling, we're inhaling the nitrogen, oxygen, a little bit of carbon dioxide, some water vapors. We're taking it all in, up, up, up. And exhaling, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, memory. And last time, inhaling in to the sky and exhaling. And that was exactly 46 seconds. So if you think about it, in the morning, if I were to say, I want to start my day with just some simple breath, simple movement, sitting at the edge of my bed, knowing that there's this physiological event that takes place. It takes about 45 seconds for that beautiful oxygen to get circulated all throughout my body via the blood back to my heart and then be expelled, right? Transferred into some stuff else. The stuff that I don't need will get to be expelled. For me, it's always very interesting to marry what I learn about anatomy and physiology with a self-care tool, with something I get to do, right? As I'm walking, what is the process by which my body is going through as I move through time and space? What is going on within my body as I inhale? What's going on within my body as I exhale? So that might be something you bring into your mornings or afternoons or evenings. The next one we're going to do is another breathing exercise. It's called brain cleansing. I believe it's brain cleansing number 1. It is from Dr. Stephen Chang's book, The Complete System of Self-Healing Internal Exercises. We're going to do it without the visualization. If you know his work or you've been in other of my classes, we do a visualization too. We're just going to do the breath. So it's going to be similar to what we just did with a little bit of a variation. So you're going to take your hands, you're going to fold your thumb in, fingers on top of the thumbs. You're going to bring them down to your side like an A-frame, right? Now, instead of lifting your hands and your arms up to the sky, you're just going to elevate your shoulders when you inhale, and then you're going to depress your shoulders when you exhale. So I'm here and here. And I inhale. And as I inhale with those shoulders elevating, I'm going to do the same thing with my head that I did before. I'm just going to look up and back, my chin towards the ceiling as I inhale. So it looks like this. And then I exhale. We're going to do that 7 times. You might need a tissue. So together, we will take our arms out to the side. You can keep your head neutral or your gaze lowered. You're going to inhale with your shoulders coming up, neck back, chin to the ceiling. Inhale, inhale. Exhale. I'm going to exhale through my nose, depress my shoulders down. Second time, inhale. Exhale. Third time. Exhale. This is a perfect opportunity if you are like, she's going too fast. Don't do it as fast as me. Slow down. Or if you want to do it faster, speed up. So again, listening to that internal voice of what feels right. Inhale. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. And now one last time. Inhale and exhale it all out. You could release your hands. You could shake them out. You could shake your body. Reestablish yourself, settling back onto your sits bones. Those are your ischial tuberosities settling down and reestablishing breath, regular breath. So this would be more autonomic. It's breathing itself. I'm being breathed instead of the conscious act we just did in both of those exercises. Okay, so let's learn about the lungs. So the lungs are I find them to be a very beautiful and unique organ. They are like these little air containers, and they're like trees, right? So the trees, like the trees, they help us in our process of oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange, right? So during the day, right, when trees and plants and algae, are performing their photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide, water, and they convert that to glucose. They convert it to sugar and oxygen, right? So our structures are very similar. The branches in our lungs are like branches of a tree, right? They're like fractals. I love fractals, right? Fractals are throughout nature. So my explanation, my curiosity, my evolving belief is that this reflexology mapping system works. It is possible. The mapping itself is possible because a larger scale object can be reflected in a smaller scale form and vice versa. So we are part of this sort of like macro micro system. So it's as above, so below. That which is here is there, right? In order to understand infinity, I have to break it down into infinitely smaller pieces. Each piece that I break down, that I examine, that I look to, that I look at, is a reflection of the expanse that exists at the level of a singular cell, at the level of a body or a room or a city, a county, a country, a planet, a solar system. So we become reflections. We are reflections. And our reflexology map is a reflection of our larger selves. And our larger selves is a reflection of the larger whole itself. Okay. So we do not get oxygen only from trees. In fact, most of the oxygen we get is going to come from the sea and the sea plants. So we need water and plants to survive. The function of the lungs is to receive air and transfer it throughout the bloodstream, right? The air then circulates throughout the body, that 45 seconds that we did earlier, absorbing necessary oxygen and sending back carbon dioxide to be expelled from the body via the lungs, the windpipe, the trachea, the nose, and the mouth. A small amount is expelled through the skin, but it's very, very, very small. Most of it is going to be expelled, right? Lungs, windpipe, nose, mouth. So this is how you can think about it. We receive air through our nose and mouth. This air travels down the trachea, also known as the windpipe. At the base of the windpipe, it's going to split into two, separating the air that goes into the left and the right lung. So the right lung, this is the right side of my body, the right lung is going to be a little bit shorter because I have a liver on the right side of my body, which is quite large. So my lung on the right side is going to be shorter. All right, my lung on the left side is actually going to be a little bit pushed off to the side because I have my heart here. So the heart being a little larger on this side is going to make it so the lung on this side is a little bit more narrow, right? So the air goes into the lungs. You take it in, it goes into the lungs, into this fractal-like structure. The branches go from larger to smaller. So they're going to go from the bronchi, then these split into smaller branches called bronchioles. I always want to say like bronchioles, like this Mexican girl in me. It's actually bronchiolos in Spanish, but I always want to say bronchioles, but it's not, it's bronchioles. Those then become the alveoli or alveoli. Those are the smallest branches in the network, and they look like tiny little sacs. And each of us has 300 to 700 million of them. And there's also other stuff. There's like capillaries, there's pleura, which is, there's two layers of membrane. There's visceral, and what's the other one? There's visceral and parietal. All right, parietal being very protective, protecting the lungs themselves. And then there's also just tissue, right, that can help the enabling of expansion and contraction. Okay, so that's what's going on at the level of the lungs. Today, we're going to learn reflexology for this part of our body. So it's gonna be our self-care and client care tool. So how I experience or perceive reflexology is also through fractals. It is, or fractal theory. My approach to reflexology mapping utilizes this theory. Um, it is absolutely scientific, but it's also artistic and very philosophical all at once. All right. So it involves contemplation of theories such as fractal theory or chaos theory, also the infinity principle, which I mentioned just a moment ago. Also macro, micro theory. What exists on a macro scale exists on a micro scale, and we can see that in nature. And then most importantly, what we speak about most often in reflexology is it acknowledges the very relationship between how our body receives external stimuli, right? All that data, all that information that's outside of ourselves, and the internal process it goes through to receive that information and send messages or responses back based on that sensory experience. Okay, so let's talk about that. External stimuli, external stuff, right? The lamp, the computer, the kitty, it's just data. It's information that is out there. And then there's the internal process, how my central nervous system processes that data, that information. So every single thing that we experience is through our central and peripheral nervous systems. So that means every single thing that we taste, that we touch, everything that touches me, everything I smell, that I see, all of this information, it's just information. It's just information until it is processed internally via my spinal cord and my brain. And it's magnificent. Our magnificent spinal cord, this electrical information highway to our brain, the center from which we receive, we process, we store memories for later retrieval. We retrieve information. There's messages that are sent from here, right? So we receive that information from our external environment, and our spinal cord gets to send that information up to our brain and ignite a process that translates that information and turns it into memory, into responses, into action. It's magnificent, all from just data, just information. I say this in my classes all the time. So if you've taken my classes, you've heard me say it again and again. But I find it so important to be really, really aware of what physiological events are occurring within me in any given moment. What is actually happening on a physiological level? So, for instance, there's a phrase that goes something like, if I'm hysterical, it's historical. So if I'm hysterical, if something is really on and I'm really, really charged and it's emotional, then it's historical. This is coming from some place. And oftentimes it might mean that I'm having this huge reaction to something that actually might not even be that big, but it's coming from somewhere so deep that this is like the perfect opportunity. I feel all that charge. I recognize this might be historical. This might have nothing to do with, I had a teacher once that said it's like, it's not about the egg roll. Two people are, it's so funny. Two people are in a restaurant and they're arguing about who's going to eat the last egg roll. It's not about the egg roll. Something else is going on here. Something else in both of those people is so charged and so worked up and so upset that we're looking outside ourselves, continually trying to blame that which is outside ourselves instead of pausing, remembering there's a physiological event taking place right now inside my body. This rush of blood, this heightened emotion, this racing of my heart, the dilating of my eyes, right? This is based on past experiences. Pause, 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 right? Now, in this pause, I am with the physiological phenomenon. This is the gift. The gift is the pause. This is the gift. This is how I perceive the gift. The gift is a pause. I have tremendous information right now. I have a lot of intense emotion. This is information. And I said it before, if it's coming up, it's ready to be healed. This emotion, this anger, this fear, this jealousy is coming up because it's ready to let go, or it wouldn't be coming up. That's my feeling. So it's coming up. Oh, good. Thank you. It's a gift. Let me unwrap it. Let me unpack it. Let me look at it. Let me lay myself bare on the table in front of me. I'm out of the closet. I'm out of I'm opening up all the drawers, all the closets, all the everything. And I'm looking at myself. And I'm not afraid to look at myself because I know I got information here that I can really help me, right? It's ready to be healed. So I treat it like a dear friend or a child that is asking just to be heard. So all I have to do, it's two-part, pause and listen. So it brings us back to the very beginning of this class when I said, check in with your insides. Do I even want to lift my arms today? Maybe I don't want to do what someone else says. Maybe I'm just going to watch. That's powerful. It's a very powerful place to honor oneself. Okay. So today we are going to dive into a touch practice. We're going to use our fingers and our thumbs as our tools to use. So it's going to be this tactile input, this touch that is going to send the message via our central nervous system, our spinal cord, our brain, back to the corresponding areas we'll look at to help bring greater blood flow and relaxation. Oh, there's another word I want to bring greater blood flow and relaxation to that area of our body. And we'll actually do a couple different areas of the body to help assist the lungs. I want to pause really briefly because I feel like I just went blah, blah, and I want to know, how is it landing? Are there any questions about how we're processing air, the anatomy itself? Is there anything, maybe even with the breathing exercises that we began with? Any questions or insights? And you could write it in the chat too if you prefer not to be seen. We're going to put this in our group and on YouTube. So if you prefer not to be seen, you could just write in the chat a question or an insight you have. All right, very good. Good, good, good. So let's do our tool. Let's do our tool for the day. So this is my right hand. We're going to work on the lung reflexology area. In my hands, it's right here. And I'm going to share my screen a little bit and show you some pictures. But right over these metacarpal heads here, this is the lung reflexology area, specifically second, third, and fourth. This area here. On the feet, it would be the same, the ball of the foot, right? Be right through here. Metatarsal heads. All right, so that's where our lung reflexology area is going to be. We're also going to address the diaphragm, the very top of it, that muscle. We're going to address the very top of it, right below that lung space. It's going to be right below these metacarpal heads. So we'll walk from here to here, or in the feet, it would be here and here. It almost looks like the body in that way because it comes up to an apex and back down again. So we have the diaphragm, the lungs, ileocecal valve between 4 and 5. If you go down almost to the base of your right hand, because it's going to be on the right side of the body, the ileocecal valve is between the ileum and the cecum. It's between the small and large intestines, right? It's a valve. It opens when the contents are ready to move from one area of the body into the next, and then it closes again. It also controls a level of mucus in our body. All right, so we could press the ileocecal valve. That's a press and hold. We're going to do an adrenal gland hold. There's two adrenal glands. They sit on top of the kidneys. I'm on the right side right now, so I'm pressing on the right adrenal gland at the center of this thenar eminence below the thumb. I press there. Solar plexus below this middle digit, right at the apex. There are other mapping systems that can place this in other areas, but remember with the reflexology map, the magic is that the map can be anywhere, just like anywhere along a branch as it branches out, right? So this could be one head. All my fingertips are one head, but I need only go like this to become half a head, 10, 5, 5, 10, right? Because it can fractal out, as it were, and become a smaller version of itself somewhere else within a map. So this is but one possibility for your solar plexus point, and then here too for the heart. So we have diaphragm, lung, ileocecal valve, adrenal gland, solar plexus, heart. As we'll do the heart, we'll be taking this final solar plexus area that we just pressed and we'll fold it over the heart area. So almost just be like this. So it's like if you were to put your hands together like that. Instead, we just move it up a little bit. So the center of my hand is going to be over that heart area. And I always like to hold it at the level of my throat or my heart. Okay. So I'm going to show you, we're going to move through that once, and then I'm going to show you on my screen some images, some possibilities, show you the map, and then we're going to come back together to do it one last time and open up for questions. Okay. So we're going to thumb walk across here. Thumb walking is taking, so this is my right thumb. I'm just bending right there. So that would mean that I bend and press. I'm able to press and not hurt my thumb because it's in flexion. Whenever we flex a muscle, we can apply pressure. We can hold something, right? So we're going to be able to apply pressure because of that flexion. And then we're going to unbend a little and bend again. Unbend a little and bend again. Unbend, bend. So that's a thumb walking. So we're going to do the diaphragm first. So we walk across, really relaxing the hand you're working on so you can get into the tissue. And then we're going to do that same thing over the entirety of here, 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 over the metacarpal heads or the lung reflexology area. So I'm going up and then I'm going back down. So I'm going up on the metacarpal head, then I'm going down in between the two, going up on the metacarpal head, down between the two. So I'm really detailing that whole area. And you can detail it even more if you really have something going on at the level of the lungs. I encourage you to detail it in many different directions. And there's no contraindication for working it for a few minutes. That's absolutely fine. Another way to work this area, if you're not really getting that thumb walking thing, if that's just difficult for you, you can kind of extend your hands like this and then simply rub the metacarpal heads together, kind of like you would like this if you were cold, but you extend a little bit more so your metacarpals stick out, and then you're able to rub them against each other. So this might be really helpful, especially if you're like coughing, you're a little sick, you're in bed, and you're like, the last thing you want to do is like, what is a thumb walking thing? Just simply like rub your hands here like that and paying attention to use this bone. The bone itself is going to create friction over the other bone and between it too. So it ends up looking like this. Okay. Then we get to press and hold our ileocecal valve. All of this you could do in your lap like this. And we do the adrenals, we hold. So I'm doing one side at a time. Both sides have every single point we're doing, except for the ileocecal valve is only on the right side of the body. And we do all of our holds for 5 seconds. Do solar plexus underneath that fifth digit, underneath the metacarpal, third metacarpal head, and we hold. And again, I like to do a hold at the level of my throat or my heart. Throat always feels better. I kind of rest my arms easier. And finally, I just adjust slightly to bring it over my heart, reflexology area. Find it really impactful to find positions of the body that feel good for you. So for me, when I do this and I hold it at my throat, the way my arms are, the way my body is positioned feels very nurturing. It feels humbling. Um, Also can feel empowering because I'm holding it at the level of my throat, right? Or my heart. So I'm sending that message to myself that I'm giving attention to that part of my body. So being aware of the sensations as they arise, the emotions as they arise that come through as you're doing things. I imagine that can go for anything that we do. But in this way, we would use it in this example. I want to open up for any questions. If there's, is there a part that doesn't make sense? Is there an area that you want greater clarity in, or an insight into another area that maybe you use that I didn't mention? Okay.
Chantel,
Yeah.
is there a diagram that's easy to look at? Because some of them are pretty complicated
Yeah.
that shows these points.
I'm going to show you mine and then you tell me if it's complicated. I'll show you my hand one and my the foot one right now. Yeah.
Okay, and then maybe you could post them on the Facebook page or something so we can refer to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I can absolutely do that. Yeah, the maps are available. They're available if you wanted to purchase one. They're out in the world. They're available on Redbubble or on my website. You can go to the home page. There's a shop on the first page that will lead you to Redbubble if you want to get like a little 8 by 10. But I can put them, it just has a little watermarking over it. Whenever I put it out in the world, I'll do a little water milk. I'm going to do a little water milking. Some watermarking will go over them, but I'm going to put those on the page for sure. Yeah, really good. Any other questions?
Yep.
Yay. Thank you, Barbara. Hmm. All right. Okay, okay. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you some stuff so you could see it in that format as well, and then we'll come back together again before we close. Okay, do. Hmm. Share screen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and collapse my image for a moment just so we could look at what we're looking at. This is a section from my book that I just wanted to put here briefly, just for those of you who are not reflexologists, to give you a general idea of where stuff is housed. And then I'm going to show you the map, but this is here in word form. So the bellies of the toes reflect the head. This is the distal phalanges, if you're familiar with the anatomy of the hand, or the foot, right? The bellies of the toes or the fingers. The base of the toes, the base of the fingers reflect your neck. Those are your proximal phalanges. The ball of the feet, the ball of the hand, that's what we work today, chest, breast, lung area. The midfoot, the arch of the foot, that's going to reflect the internal organs. This is, again, this is very general. And then the base of the foot reflects the pelvic area. All right, so let's look at this. So this is my map. Just going to look at it from here because these are the areas we're really concerned with. So this is the lungs here. This is the windpipe, the trachea, right? And then it goes into the bronchi, the bronchioles, the alveoli, into the capillaries, the pleura, the tissue around here that enables expansion and contraction. You could see how it's a little bit pushed over from the heart, right? A little bit higher up from the liver. This is the solar plexus. The heart is here. So the areas we're working on are diaphragm, which is right here. This is just part of the diaphragm line, we call it in reflexology. We have the lungs. We have the heart. And we have the ileocecal valve, which is down here between the small and large intestine. Okay, that's between the ileum and the cecum, the small and large intestine, and then it goes into the ascending colon, transverse, etc. And this is your solar plexus. So if we were to look at that in a hand, these are the areas we press. We get to go along this diaphragm line. That's what we do first, right? So we went around here, we did our thumb walking. Then we really detail between second, third, and fourth metacarpal heads. We're going up and down. Yes, we're going over other areas too, but we're focusing on the lungs and the tissue within there, right? Then we go ileocecal valve, adrenal, that's the orange one, adrenal, solar plexus, heart. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you do the other hand minus the ileocecal valve. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to show you, I'll bring back my image here, is just this. I put this on the page. That which we see in nature is very similar to that which we see within. And there are practices and philosophies that even look at the vegetables we're looking at and how certain vegetables might reflect or look like a part of our body, maybe our heart, maybe our brain, maybe our lungs, and that those vegetables in and of themselves are beneficial for the very area of the body that may need attention. So I just wanted to focus in here on this idea of a branch being like a bronchi. Then that branch branches out into these two areas. These are like the bronchioles, right? And then it branches out again, two more, two more, two more. Fractal theory suggests that this goes on for infinity, right? This goes on forever. A fractal actually has no end. Our limited perception says, oh, it ends at the end of this leaf right here. It ends right there. But fractal theory suggests it goes on forever. So this one can become two, can become 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, into infinity. We see it also fractals in water, right? Another example is through this fractalization that happens on, you could see it on frost, like on your car windshield, perhaps, if you have a car. So we see it in water and we see it in nature most. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share and bring it back to us. Um, And I want to do this one more time. Now that you've seen that, I want to bring it back to our hands. So I'm going to do the right, let's do the left hand because we already did the right hand. So this will be without the ileocecal valve. We're going to begin with walking across the diaphragm. So I'm doing my thumb walking. Now I'm doing it like this so you could see, but just do it at the level of your heart or in your lap, right? These are always great opportunities to not think, right? To just do the act, right? I'm just focusing on the touch. I'm focusing on what it feels like. I'm not freaking out if it hurts. I'm just aware. It's data, it's information. It's telling me something. Now that I've finished that, I'm going to go ahead and detail the lungs. And again, I'm going to put it in my lap because it's just easier. In classes, I always suggest that one, you could lower your gaze or close your eyes, but also you could just really loosen up, like free your neck and just start to look around. Become curious about your surroundings as you apply pressure to this area of your lungs over the metacarpal heads. It leaves very little room for other interruptions, other thoughts to come in and try to hijack our serenity, right? So I'm just going to focus on my tactile input. I'm just going to focus on the sensation. If something does come in, I get to pause, get really curious, notice the physiological shift, magnificent shift happening within. Take a breath, allow it to rise and fall like a breath. There's no wrong way to do it. You could press and hold, lift up and press and hold. Again, you could do it however you want. And now there's no ileocecal valve on this time, so I'm right away just going to move to my adrenal. My adrenal gland, I would actually do with my thumb, and then I would fold it over like this so I could hold the back side. So this is my left hand in my lap. I put my thumb here, hold the back side, really relax my hand, and I just hold it. Maybe I look around, maybe I count to 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. I then can move on to the solar plexus. Could also do my thumb again or another finger. Could hold it in my throat. And again, I'm really aware of this very interesting sensation that comes over me, this feeling of nurturing in this position. Maybe like if I was in a fetal position on my side in bed, that's kind of how it feels right now when I do this. So I'm giving myself that extra input of nurturing, nourishment. And then finally, I do my heart. To do my heart, I actually don't press it with my thumb. I use the solar plexus area and I fold it over my heart. And I breathe and I can count to 5. Listen to the birds outside. I have frogs ribbiting outside right now. And then I get to let that go. So that is your, not protocol, but just a guide for areas you can press. Yeah, areas you can adopt. But then listen to yourself as you're applying pressure. You might get a call to go somewhere else. You might be like, what's going on with that thumb? So I encourage you to, again, always listen to the internal call. Donna asked, what's the best play to see the replay? I'm going to put it on YouTube. So I'm going to put it on our private page so we have access. And then it'll be also on YouTube for others to see. And yeah, Lori, it is so cool. It's so cool. All right. Are there any questions or insights that anybody wishes to share before we're gonna end with one more tool actually. But are there any questions before we do the tool? After we do the tool, we'll close.
I have one question. If
Great.
I'm really emotional, like crying and stuff like that, is it helpful to do reflexology on my heart area, like clasp my hands, like you said?
Love that. Yes, absolutely. I love that your words, like your answer was inherent in your question. Exactly. That's exactly right. Exactly what you just said. Yeah. That sounds so beautiful, right? If I'm crying, if it's like, yes, the lungs, the heart. It might be we're doing the reflexology and then just suddenly we get a feeling like, I just want to put my hands on my heart. I just want to lie down for a moment. We have all like I always think like we have all these ideas of how we're trained to be humans of like don't take a nap in the middle of the day, be productive, don't talk back. Like there's so many rules around what it means to be a good kind human. But in actuality, for me at this stage in my life, if I'm tired, I lie down. Right? I listen to myself if it might happen that somebody asks me, this happened recently. A dear friend of mine asked me a question, and for whatever reason, I didn't want to answer it. And I couldn't figure out why. This is one of my best friends. Why don't I want to answer this question? Doesn't matter. For some reason, something else was moving inside of me, and it just felt like this isn't what I want to talk about. And what ended up happening was we ended up in this insanely beautiful conversation about that, about listening to ourselves. And then we were in this really good conversation about what it means to listen to ourselves. And we were both like honoring both of us going through this process. Like, that's the move. That's the way. That's because otherwise, I'm moving through my life with always just a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of not quite right, a little bit of when I finish this, at least I'll get to go away and be alone. No, what if I'm myself in every given moment? When I'm with others, what if I honor myself? Kindly, I could say it kindly. I don't want to talk about that. Whatever. Okay. Anything else? Any other insights, ideas about anything we've talked about today before we do this final? The exercise we're going to do is a nose one. Lori, you know this. We've done it before. It's a Taoist internal exercise for the nose, the gateway for all that air to come in. It's a very good one. And actually, it's been used to good effect for people who are having problems breathing, or even with long COVID, I've had a couple clients with long COVID who were unable to smell properly, and they did this regularly on their own, self-care daily, and it improved their sense of smell. So we're going to do that. We're going to free it up. So we're going to, thank you. This is very helpful. Oh, thank you. And now to remember to practice it. Yeah, totally, Barbara. Yeah, now to remember to practice it. I always practice my self-care in moments that I'm doing something else, perhaps like washing dishes, brushing teeth, watching a movie, listening to someone in a meeting. So I will do them in those moments too, lest I forget. So we're going to end with this. This nose exercise is in that same book, and I'll put the book on our page too by Dr. Stephen Chang. What you're going to do is you're going to take your fingers and at the base of my nose, right here on either side of my nostrils, I'm going to rub for 10 seconds. We do this at the end because there's going to be redness all over the face after. Then you go up to the middle of the nose. It might be sensitive if you have an infection or something going on in your sinuses. And you're going to do 10 seconds again. And then right here, just here, we're going to do one on top of the other and rub in a circle. And then we're going to do a sweep. One and two and three and we can do that two more times. One, we count to 10. You could also just kind of press, again, follow your rhythm, follow your intuition, your intuitive sense of where do my fingers, how deep. You're not going too hard. You're in the center now. I already feel like I get more breath and in through the nasal passages. And then here at the top in a circle, I'm recognizing if my neck is free, if my jaw is loose. And now I go 1, 2, and 3. And last time, 1, 2. I'm just going to hold this one. I'm not going to do circles. I'm just going to hold it, pressing in for 10 counts. And breathing. Now to my second one, midway. I'm just going to hold it. And finally, the top, holding. And now 1, 2, 3. Um, Final thing to say about this, just like what you just said, Barbara, like following that impulse of as the emotions arise, what to do. As we're doing the reflexology, we're going to get hits as to where to go next. As you do this, you might start getting hits of like wanting to palm your eyes. You might want to rub your temples, your jaw. Other things start coming to life. When we free up one area, it's like the rest of the body's like, me, me, what about me? So again, follow, especially as we're about to close right now, or there right when we come off this call, or right when you finish watching the video, take 2 minutes. Take 2 minutes to just not do anything just yet and to check in with your body. What needs attention? Is there anything that wants to be held? Is there any area of the hands, the feet, the face, the ears, the heart that want to be held or touched? And we'll close there. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'll see you later. Have a beautiful day and night. Mwah.